Hello, what's going on, everyone? Today I'm going to be talking to you about. We're just going to continue the series, honestly. So, this series, if you don't know it, please watch the last one. Should you pick X race? And we're going to be talking about the Earth race. The Earth race, it's definitely the most controversial by far. I know some modding DBO games straight up just cancel Earths entirely. Also selling this. And it's it's actually extremely funny just knowing that, like, in some versions of the game, in some cracked versions of the game, Earths are genuinely just not even in the picture. I genuinely think that's something to laugh at. But it wasn't always this way. Earths were actually one of the weakest races comparatively. So back before they had fucking 3 stuns, 4 if you include masks, the Earths only had access to the solar flare. Solar flare, I genuinely think solar flare is a good stun. Essentially, it indiscriminately, if you're wearing black flags, it indiscriminately will shine a light to your enemies, and around your enemies, they're going to be stunned for X amount of seconds, depending on the level. That is where Earths shined very brightly, no pun intended, where they'd essentially be the distraction of the group. Like in Omega, the Earths would play a vital role in basically securing the perimeter. And then basically like a Namekian or a Saiyan would come in to kind of fix, to kind of escort the fugitive off the premises. I don't even fucking know. So the Earths played a very important role in that regard. But over time, Earth started shifting from being like a security aspect to essentially just being the main show in terms of offense and maybe defense, really depending on how you view the Earth itself. So let's just talk about the stat sheet real quick. Earths have always had the strongest pound for pound blast. In the last video, we discussed how Namekians have a really good damage per second. I actually didn't say those words. I probably should have said them. But essentially, they have a lot of blasts to give, and they can shoot a blast basically 2 or 3 times before an enemy can hit back. With an Earthling, however, in a very early game, it does suck for them. Only because it's a very, very powerful blast, but it takes such a long time for it to activate. So essentially you're waiting, what, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're waiting almost 5 seconds for a blast to happen, where essentially you're just stuck with just your regular punches. Not many people know this, but Earths actually have the weakest punch. I say weakest because I say weakest in quotes because really Namekians have the weakest punch at, I think, 150% damage. Earths actually have the slowest punch, with Saiyans having 170%. I actually don't know the exact speed. Namekians have the speed of, I think, 400 or something like that milliseconds, but Namekians have it fast, Earths have it slow, and then they also have like the mid-tier of damage. So what does this mean? Not only do they have a slow blast, they also have a very, very slow punch. So why does this make Earths really bad? First off, they're not really bad. In late game, Earths are actually devastating. I genuinely fear for my life every single time any single Earthling pops up onto the screen. And it frightens me sometimes. Sometimes I just wake up at night and, bro, it's an Earthling, man. It's not always like this though. In the very beginnings of the game, Earth accounts are not fun to play with at all. Grinding for an Earth sucks. Reason being is they don't have the fast regeneration like Namekians. They don't have a rescue stat like Saiyans. The only way you can recuperate your stats is by using beans. So if you don't have good Senzu beans, or if they're upgrading, you're kind of shit out of luck for a solid amount of seconds. What do I mean by this? Like, let's say if you're using all of your skills, like there's genuinely just no way. Hold on, let's kind of take down our stats real quick. There's genuinely just no way I can recuperate any of my stats with any of the skills that I have here. And the Earths can't naturally do it. They can, but it is very, very slow. So we can definitely take our sweet time, and while I'm talking, we can wait. As you saw right there, after about 30 seconds, I had about, 500 ki back. Which isn't as nearly enough of what I need in order to blast another skill, which makes Earths default back to their slowest punch, their slowest attack. Thankfully, with the addition of slots, Earths actually have a way to mitigate that. There's gear such as convert to ki, where Earths will always have this on deck, where essentially 5% of the damage for this gear, 5% of the damage that I deal goes back into ki. With that, Earths genuinely drop the biggest issue they've always had. If it wasn't for slots, Earths would actually be one of the hardest skills or hardest races to master, because it's genuinely difficult finding a balance for the account. But slots, the most controversial update. I think that would be a good video to talk about. One of the coolest things that Earths also have is the Genki Dama. Oh man, it starts off as, let's see, can I even fire it off? It starts off as a Destructo Disc at level 1 and level 2, and right after that it becomes a fully fledged Spirit Bomb, which is really cool. The animation does change, I believe, at level 5, which is what my account is at. It will use the one-hand... Oh, what the heck? I got a 10 capsule. It will use the one-handed Spirit Bomb. After the level that I'm at, it'll actually use the two-handed Spirit Bomb, which is really, 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 really cool. The dope animations are what make this game this game. The other things that an Earth has is teleport and hypnosis. This is what makes the Earth the most annoying in the game. By the way, if you're making an Earth, you're making it for PvP. You're not necessarily making it for PvE, although Earths also excel in quite literally everything besides, I think, just fighting enemies. I think if you're fighting enemies, I think your best bet is just get a Namekian, maybe even a Saiyan. One of the coolest skills that an Earth will have is Jumper. So what does this do? You stun the opponent, right? But it doesn't just do that. You get a guaranteed critical on your next hit. It is as broken as it sounds. Coupled with there's a thing called a passive skill, because why the fuck not? Where if you couple that with a passive skill, you can actually deal up to 150% damage on top of your crit after hitting a teleport. It's broken as broken can be, and I'm just at a loss for words every single time. We've already discussed the solar flare. The only thing that's worth mentioning is there's a lot of masks out nowadays that have a sunglass feature. Essentially, you're just immune to solar flare, which that actually does rock a lot of the functionality of an Earthling. So it's always recommended to get it. There just isn't a disguise that's permanently featured that'll get you there. Unfortunately, once there is, I'm buying that like 5 times over. One of the things that I want to talk about is the hypnosis skill. So hypnosis is one of the most annoying skills, I'd say. Essentially, it weakens the character that you're using it on, and it stuns them for, I think, a maximum of like 11 seconds. It's very, extremely egregious that 11 seconds is the time that it takes. Like, in that time, in 11 seconds, you could hit a Kamehameha, right? You could punch your enemy as long as you want, and you can end it off with a Kamehameha. This is why Earths are the most problematic race, only because they can essentially stun loop you for the duration of a battle. Essentially, if you open with maybe a solar flare or a hypno attack, essentially you have at least like 7 seconds to do with your enemy what you please. And it's crazy. It's actually insane because you just have all the time. It's straight up like Dio's world from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. You have everything you want to do to an enemy, and as soon as the stun wears off, all you have to do is literally just switch to the next one. The teleport, I believe it goes up to about 6 seconds. I could be wrong on that. Please double check me. And also please subscribe and like the video. Haha. So in that time, you could just chip damage away by punching and punching and punching. And then you can finish it off by hitting a teleport, which the teleport move itself actually does damage, which is freaking crazy to me. And then you can just finish it off with a world-ending Kamehameha. There are counters to this, such as wearing Jiro, which will mitigate every single blast, rendering the Kamehameha useless. But there's obviously counterplay, like, you know, I'll just punch more. But the thing is, Earth's bread and butter isn't the Kamehameha. It's not the stuns. It's actually this move. In late game, this is probably genuinely the best move that Earths have. And it's crazy. It's not really talked about that much. I don't know why. I certainly don't have the funds necessary to make this skill good for my accounts, and I'm genuinely not willing to put any money into this game. More than I already have. So, what this skill does is 10% of your HP and a portion of ki. It'll tell you right here. Level 7 takes about 27,000. I think level 1 takes 8,000. I could be wrong. But it'll always take 10% of your HP no matter what. So if it'll always take 10% of your HP. That's really cool. So you might be asking, why is this a strong move if it literally hurts you to use it? Keep in mind this. Let's look at Dragon Punches. 500 milliseconds, right? And 160% damage. If we look at Kaioken, it's still 500 milliseconds, which I think that is wrong because you can spam this move way faster. But the increased damage, you have a 60% boost in damage. It's not even funny. We'll test this out right now. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It takes about 7 seconds. Obviously, this isn't like the best. Part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, yep. So I stand corrected. Looks like Kaioken has the same speed, which is weird to me. You would think that, like, for a move that makes you die, essentially, you know, it wouldn't do that. But I stand corrected. I can always be corrected. Always, you know, leave a comment that's saying I'm wrong and tell me why I'm wrong. I'm actually very tired. I probably shouldn't have woken up and this video. I think that's covered everything. Obviously, with Super Kamehameha, I don't really know much about the skill. I did do a test on that on this channel. which is really cool. It is definitely one of the skills you should be definitely going for. I don't have the luxury of grinding for this skill. I don't have any Earth accounts that are above 40. But in any case, that covers what I wanted to cover. You have a great rest of your day, and I'll check you in the next video. See ya.